Welcome to the Weekend Warriors Fishing Podcast, presented by 13 Fishing Canada. Make your own luck. We're here to scratch that angling itch and talk everything fishing. Join us as we sit down with special guests from across the industry. Now, here's your hosts, Logan Lewis
and Zacary Jeaurond.
Episode 118 of the Weekend Warriors Fishing Podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in once again. I am your host, Logan Lewis, flying solo today. Jesse's out at bear camp and a little harder to get the timing set up here, being in a different time zone and everything. So flying solo for the intro and outro and the interview portion of this episode. So definitely not going to want to miss this one. We have Zacary Jeaurond on from Cheemo Lodge. We are going to be covering everything that he has learned so far with the somewhat recent purchase of the lodge up on Tazin Lake, kind of the story behind the lodge itself, what Tazin Lake has to offer, as well as the surrounding lakes that they have the rights to, and some of the, challenges and whatnot that it comes with owning a lodge. And I know it's something that other people, I'm sure, have thought about at one point. Oh, it might be cool to own a lodge. So I thought this would be a pretty sweet episode to kind of get a behind-the-scenes look at what it kind of takes to get everything rolling here and get your own lodge going. Before we hop into the interview portion of the show, as always, going to try and make this quick. We've got the sponsors of the show. Flying solo today, so not too many stories to tell here. Starting off, we've got 13 Fishing Canada being the presenting sponsor of the show since the very beginning. You can head over to the Rapala Canada website, use the code WKND Warriors to save yourself 15% off your entire order, whether it's Rapala, VMC, 13, Strike Master, all the brands that are under the umbrella there of Rapala Canada. You can save yourself 15% off. Next up, Saskatchewan Wildlife Federation. Huge thanks to them for sponsoring the show as well. They just had Spawn Camp finishing up at Buffalo Pound. Lots of the stocked lakes that they are responsible for stocking with the cultivation station. Those were getting hit there in April, and they've been doing some stocking missions I've seen on the social media there. They've got the access to land, all this great stuff that comes with being a member, and they do so much great stuff for the outdoors in our province. So definitely a cool thing to be a part of. So head over to the Saskatchewan Wildlife Federation website, find your local branch, and get your membership today. Next up, we have Lac La Marte Adventures. Jesse will be heading up there in no time here. We actually mentioned Lac La Marte quite a few times in this episode, as Zach, our guest for the show, has some experience speaking with some of the guides that I was lucky enough to spend some time with. I don't know if he's talked to Jesse or not yet. I can't remember, but definitely familiar with some of our other buddies that are up at Lac La Marte guiding. So if you're interested in anything to do with Lac La Marte, whether it's booking a trip up there, seeing what that would look like logistically, or looking to get some merch, anything like that, you can head over to the Lac La Marte website, inquire about some dates, check out the merch. There's some really great stuff. One of my favorite hoodies right now is from Lac La Marte itself. So yeah, big thanks to them for coming on and sponsoring this year. Lastly, to close things out here, we have Angler's Edge Mapping. As I always mentioned, behind me on the back is one of the prints that you can get. This is Clearwater Lake in Manitoba behind me. Awesome prints, put over a satellite image of the depths of the lake. Not only do they have the prints, they've got, of course, for us fishermen, all the great detailed mapping, high definition mapping that is just expanding. The portfolio is getting crazy. They should be doing some releases here, I think, in the pretty near future with some of the new chips coming out for 2026. Definitely excited to see what's all on there. The last mountain maps around home here have been great. Diefenbaker, the portion that's mapped there, awesome as well. It's such a game changer for something that we didn't have in Saskatchewan for a long time here. Obviously, they're in Manitoba. They've got some maps in Alberta and BC as well, and I think getting into Ontario as well. So if you're interested at all in anything that Angler's Edge Mapping has to offer, head over to their website and take a browse. Thank you very much for sponsoring this year as well. That's all I got for the intro here. Wanted to keep it short and sweet when I was flying solo. This is a pretty good episode here with Zach. I know I didn't know too much about the lodge heading into it, and by the end of this episode, I was pretty excited for Zach and everything that they've got going up there, and looking forward to their first full year with a lot of clients coming in. Wish them nothing but the best. Hopefully we'll have an update episode as well, maybe after the first year, to see how everything went. But like I said, that's all I got for the intro. Please enjoy the rest of this interview with Zacary Jeaurond. Well, sitting down tonight with Zacary Jeaurond. This has been a couple DMs in the making here, getting us lined up. He's from Cheemo, is that right? Cheemo Lodge, correct pronunciation?
Yep, that's the one, yeah.
Awesome. So we're going to be getting into kind of what it's like owning a lodge from someone on the newer standpoint of that, and kind of the story behind the lodge itself. And then I think it's something that I think lots of people get interested in. Oh, what would it be like to own a tackle store? Or what would it be like to own a lodge? So I think this could be a pretty interesting take from yourself. So maybe with that, just kind of give a brief introduction of yourself here, just so people have an idea of your background and kind of heading into the lodge here.
For sure. Yeah, my name's Zacary Jeaurond. I'm the owner-operator of Cheemo Lodge. And yeah, one of those things that I kind of knew, I was fortunate enough to know that my goal and my plan was to own a fishing lodge since I was about 16, probably even before that, but 16 is when I started to really start to work towards it and whatnot. And with that, I started to put the pieces together because there's a lot of different pieces required to owning a lodge, and I think being successful in it. And so started working at it for, the last 14, 15 years and put the pieces together to make it happen now.
Okay. And what's the behind the scenes kind of look like when you said putting those pieces together? Is it being up at other lodges or kind of prospecting lots of different lodges? What's that kind of look like for yourself?
Yeah. To go back all the way to the beginning, first it was just, I wanted to fish for a living. So, my parents said, well, if you want to do that, you better be good in tournaments, or you better own a fishing lodge, or you better have a TV show. And when I was younger, I said, okay, I'm going to have a TV show. And then as I got a little bit older, I started to take more to the hospitality side. When it comes to the steps it took, it was so much more than just, guiding was part of it. Working maintenance at fishing lodges was part of it. But a lot of it was just the financial side in the beginning. So, I started flipping cars when I was 16 to put away to buy my first house that I'd one day ideally sell to one day, buy a lodge. And then out of high school, went and got my electrical ticket to start learn different trades. Cause obviously at a fly-in lodge, you can't be calling a plumber or an electrician if something goes wrong. You'd go broke.
You got to be a multi-tool.
Yeah, exactly. So started to do those pieces. And then once I got, comfortable or more comfortable with the trade side, I went to school for business management to learn, the accounting side, the managerial accounting side, the management side, the people side, HR, all of those things. And then specifically marketing and sales, because you got to be able to sell if you're going to try and convince someone to spend thousands of dollars to go catch some fish. So once I wrapped that up, then I went and worked as the head of maintenance at another fishing lodge. And by the end of that summer, I pretty much decided, okay, it's time to buy a lodge. I feel like I have the skills that I need to succeed in it. And I thought it was going to be a 1 year kind of journey from then, look at a few properties and pick one. But it took about 5 years of looking at, every summer, spend all my vacation to go up to fly into different lodges, different places. Got a little distracted at some points looking at some drive-in campgrounds and stuff, getting kind of impatient. But then, after year 5, we stumbled upon Cheemo Lodge, and it was one that there was no way we were not going to let this one happen. We had to make this one happen. So.
Right. So you're not kidding. You literally, all those steps were with the end goal of having a lodge.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Like I said, all the way from 16, it was like, okay, what can I do at 16 to get towards a fishing lodge? Well, at that point, it's just money. Okay, if I can learn a little mechanics at the same time, great. I'll be able to work on those outboards a little better. But it was all just a means to an end, if that makes sense. And a long, strenuous journey, but so far we're just getting started. We're only a year into it, really. But so far, it's really been paying off.
No, that's impressive. I thought it. It seems like lots of people, whether they stumble across it and they already had some of the experiences, like some of the mechanical experience, maybe fishing experience, stuff like that, and stumble upon it. That's a pretty lengthy journey with, I guess, intentional steps being made to put towards that. Hey.
Yeah, and the plan was not for it to take that long. Like for those 5 years that I was looking at properties, I felt kind of almost cursed. I was like, is there something I'm not getting here? Like, there was one property that I spent 2 or 3 years trying to make happen, and just, with the owner and stuff, and just ended up not being the right match. But then once Cheemo came along, it was more of rather than a curse, it felt like a blessing, because it was like, oh, thank God I missed all those other
Right.
ones, because this is way better than what anything we had looked at before. So
Right. And so that was, I guess that would have been right around 2020 COVID times when you started looking.
yeah, yeah. And my whole ideology with that was like, okay, I'm not a rich man. Like, I'm still, in my mid-20s. So everybody's shut down. There's going to be a lot of, older generations looking to sell out, and it might be a decent time to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So I just took the highest paying job I could find at that time. Luckily, it was a great, great gig here in Calgary. Ended up getting married, and I got 2 kids now and everything else. So, that obviously can change the trajectory, but luckily with a very supporting wife and whatnot, she was still fully on board to sell everything and,
Right.
and chip away at this, even with, 2 young ones at home and no guarantees. So,
Right, for sure. No, that's all pretty sweet. I like that. It was intentional with each of those steps. But we're gonna get into kind of the story of the lodge itself and everything along with that. But maybe just touch on what Tazin Lake has to offer for some people that have found this episode when they're looking for fishing trips. Kind of use your marketing degree here, and what's Tazin got coming for people.
Yeah, I guess so. And yeah, it is a fishing podcast. So we should probably talk a little bit about the fishing side of things. At the end of the day, Tazin offers that world-class lake trout fishing opportunity, especially when you start to talk about that top-end size of some of the biggest lake trout you see come out each year. Tazin's usually in the conversation. So, you're looking at Great Bear, you're looking at Great Slave, you're looking at, and oftentimes, Tazin's in that conversation as well, having those lake trout that, break the 45-inch, break the 48-inch, and even sometimes, break the 50-inch mark, which is, you don't see that in every lake. And not regularly. There might be one story every 10 years or every 20 years, whereas we're seeing that to be a little bit more common than that. It's still not a guarantee. I always tell I always err on the side of caution when talking about fish size and stuff like that, because it's still fishing. But of course I can say with confidence, if you do come out to Tazin, you're putting your chips in pretty much one of the best spots you can for having that next level lake trout.
Yeah, you're getting an edge against the house.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, for sure. And as far as the pike fishing, I know about, I don't know, a good percentage of listeners are also American, and they obviously love their pike fishing. Is there some pretty good pike fishing as well?
Yes, for sure. And I always try not to overshadow our pike fishing too much with the lake trout side of things, especially because when we bought Cheemo, we actually got the allocations and the rights to fish on Tazin, but also on Salor and Felucho, which is 2 other lakes that are, those 2 lakes are exclusive to us. There's no other fishing lodges on those lakes. We've got the only one with the rights on them. And the pike fishing on those 2 lakes, we've actually found to be even stronger than Tazin. And that's, again, not to take away from Tazin's pike fishing. There's monster pike to be found there. But having, Salor and Felucho, where not quite such big bodies of water, easier to get in between bays, more areas where they tend to school up and you can find lots of numbers. We've had a lot of people come in and, like, there's this one bay in Felucho that we always try and be very careful of not overfishing, because again, it's a really special bay, but we haven't had too many people that haven't left saying it was the best pike fishing they've had. They're phenomenal pike fisheries as well.
Nice. And are those boat-ins or fly-ins, or what are those?
All boat-in, which is really sweet. So, we only bring in 12 guests at a time. That's kind of our upper limit. We'll go a little bit bigger for larger groups. It's easier to handle one group of 16 than 8 groups of 2 kind of idea. But those 12 guests will be split up between the 3 lakes. So you might have, 6 on Tazin, 4 on Salor, and we only put 1 boat on Felucho. And they're super easy to get to. So Salor is a 5-minute walk or a 3-minute quad ride. And then Felucho, you do a 15-minute boat ride down Salor, and then it's a 100-meter walk onto the lake. So super easy to access, not any additional cost to fish all 3 fisheries, and all have a very special and unique, opportunity.
Right, for sure. And that I kind of like that, because I mean, I've never been on the paying side of it, but when you go up to a lodge and then you got to fly in again somewhere on like day packages, I'm like, that would really kind of be a kick in the gut sometimes when you're already flying into that one place, right? And now, if you want it even better, check out this other lake. Then, and I get why there's the additional cost because you got to fly into it, but it kind of that part can be kind of tough. So it's nice that you're that close. So you always, if you have a full camp, you're always breaking it up that way for those number of boats on each lake.
The way we're doing it usually ends up being there'll be two reasons someone will fish a lake. Reason number one will be someone was in the bar and they were like, look at this 48-inch laker I caught today on Sawlore. And everybody wants to fish Sawlore because, Buddy caught that huge fish over there. So let's go fish there. The other piece that will can end up tending, guys to fish the same area is wind. So if we get a strong east wind, well, then everybody's going to go over to the West Lake because you're out of the wind getting started and whatnot, and vice versa. But generally speaking, like Thalucho, we only put one boat on. So anybody, any group of 2 or 3 that are fishing Thalucho, they're going to have the whole lake to themselves. Sawlore, we put 5 boats on, so we can have up to 10 people fishing that lake. And then Tazin, we put 6. So we can have, if you got a group of 12 that all want to fish together, they can all go fish Tazin, kind of idea. Right. But at the end of the day, we'll work with groups on what they're looking for and mix it up that way.
Nice, that's sweet. And did I see that you had you did a winter trip into there?
Yes.
This year?
Yeah. And that was a learning experience for sure. So when we went to look at the lodge, we had kind of rushed in because when buying a lodge, like we had missed out on other opportunities. And when we kind of, started to hear, okay, it has this perk and this perk and this perk and, like the owner and everything else, we thought, okay, let's get in there now and get an offer in, close the deal. So we snowmobiled in, not this winter, but last winter. And we went in from Fort Chippewan. And so that was 100 miles across Lake Athabasca and then 10 miles north of there. And my snowmobile experience prior to that would have been a little bit of trail grooming around LaRange at one point and some trail rides with my uncle around Candle Lake. So we by no means are experienced, expediters or anything like that. So
there weren't groomed trails up to Tazin, hey?
Yeah, no, not quite. There's 14-foot, ice heaves with open water on Lake Athabasca, and the wind even just picks up a little bit, and it's a whiteout because you just get a ground storm because the lake's so damn big. But yeah, so we did that winter trip, and at that point we were coming out, and we were looking at another lodge that was on Lake Athabasca because we're like, well, while we're here, we know this one's for sale, so let's go look at it. And we got stuck in a ground storm. And we were doing 10, 15 clicks an hour because I was just following my watch and look and go. Because I'd never been in a whiteout like that before, but essentially it's like just close your eyes, but instead of black, it's white. Like you just can't see anything. So and then we were going so slow that the snow machines started overheating because they weren't getting enough snow and air and whatnot. So there was one moment where, and I always talk about this one moment, but we were sitting on Lake Athabasca in a complete whiteout, and we didn't have financing secured for the lodge. We didn't know how we were going to buy it. We knew we wanted it, but like I'm sitting out there being like, well, one, if this doesn't blow over or my GPS is wrong, like who knows what's going to happen here. But 2, like, what am I doing out here? Like, I don't even know that I can buy this place. And luckily, looking back, thank God we did it. My father was like a huge piece in making that happen. Same thing there. He had more snowmobile experience than me, but had never done any big, treks like that. Even going out, like we just didn't realize how hard going on a flat lake is on all of your gear and the sleds and everything, just because it's steady, bang, bang, bang for 4 hours straight. We didn't pack our sled tight enough, so our ice auger had popped a hole into a few of our jerry cans right off the bat. So we're like 50 kilometers in. We've got another 150 to go, and we're starting to count fuel. Like, are we gonna make it there and back? So that was the first trip, a big learning curve, and then this last trip was another huge learning curve because we weren't just trying to go to look at the lodge. We were trying to bring in 7 boats and 17 roof trusses and all this other stuff. So that one we went around to Uranium City and then spent the nights there. It's instead of being a 175 kilometer snowmobile trip in, you're about 80 to 90, so you cut it in half, which is nice.
And don't go across the big lake.
Yeah, you do, but it's broken up into shorter sections. You know, it's like, okay, you got 30 clicks and 30 clicks, which is a lot better than 160.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
it was an experience. We got a lot of looks rolling into town. I rented a Enterprise rent a truck and drove it all the way to Uranium City, which was pretty,
especially on that road, eh?
Yeah, because I mean, anyone who's driven a Stony, it's pretty ugly, and it doesn't get any better until you get onto Lake Athabasca. There, that was the best part of the drive, was on the ice.
Yeah.
But yeah, all I asked when I went to the rental place was, "Are these allowed on any public roads?" They said yes. Okay, that's all I need to know.
I'm not going to say anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So, but luckily we, met some really, really great people in Uranium City that were able to lend us a hand and kind of give us some advice and whatnot. We were a little bit naive in a few parts where probably shouldn't have snowmobiled here or stayed clear of that area. And you find out after, like, okay, don't go there. So, but other than that, we got a lot of looks, people saying, oh, you're planning to do what with that snow machine up those hills into Tazin?
Yeah.
And they're, oh, have you done a lot of this before? Nope. But anyhow, at the end of the day, like, we didn't get all of the materials we were hoping to get in, but we got all the materials that couldn't go on a plane, which was number one, because we can't afford helicopters just yet. We're not in that we're not in that realm yet. No, so we got our 7 boats in and our 22-foot roof trusses in and then a few shower kits and a few other pieces, and then the rest is waiting in Uranium City to get flown in here this summer in about 4 or 5 days here. So.
Nice. Right when this one's probably going to be coming out. So
yeah,
that works out well. So I guess we covered some of the fishing or what people can look forward to there. And I didn't know, like, that wasn't a prompted question. I just had seen on Instagram some of the stuff from the trip and pulling the boat. So I just thought I'd ask about it, but that sounds pretty crazy. Like you're not even talking about the road up to Uranium City. And from what I've heard, I've only spent a little bit of time on that road, but from what I've heard, it's like bring 3 extra tires and this and that, because it could be so bad. So you're not even mentioning that. So that must be how adventurous the rest of the trip was. So
yeah. There was a few times you have a semi coming in one direction and I'm going in the other direction, and the road is plowed the width of two semis. That's all it is. So the one side of my Enterprise rent-a-truck is touching the snowbank, scraping into it, and I'm hoping I don't touch the semi on the other side. It's that close. So,
and they don't drive slow on that road either.
No, you got places to be. So they're moving. Yeah. No, and then same thing there. Like, guys in Uranium City find out we don't have radios, and they're like, "What the hell are you doing driving through the night?" And we were on such a time crunch because the ice road didn't open up till March 15th, and it usually opens up around February 15th. So we were on, like, we left Airdrie or Calgary at about 11 p.m. And then we got to Kindersley at about 4 or 5 a.m. And we slept there till about 7. And then we drove all the way to Points North, like almost to Stony in one shot from that 7 a.m. till midnight. And spent the night at the camp in Points North, and then hit the road from there and was in Uranium City the next day. So not only was, it a crazy experience and roads and everything else, time was not on our side. And even when we got onto the road, we had been talking with a lot of the locals about who had been driving on the road and how much weight and that there wasn't any issues, but technically it wasn't even rated at that point. So we were going real slow on the ice road and whatnot. And then, once we got to town, then it was a whole other thing, because this year also was one of some of the most snow they've had in the last, from what I know, 10, 20 years. So that made for, it wasn't doing a load of boats in right off the bat. It was, just go try and break trail to get into the lodge. And that's an entire day of just breaking trail. And then, okay, that trail's hard enough now. We'll take one boat in empty. And then, okay, now we have a little bit wider of a trail, judging, okay, what's the right rope length and everything else. And then, okay, now we'll load up the trusses and then the last set of boats and whatnot. But yeah, honestly, had it not been for my dad being there, like, I don't think I would have. It would have never happened. Like, he was a huge help. Even one night, and sorry, I know I'm kind of rambling here, but
no, that's fine.
there was Yeah, one night where a gentleman in town it was super generous, and he had plowed with his snowcat a little road for us to get down to the lake, so we could just put all the boats on Lake Athabasca rather than taking them, 15 clicks down the road and damaging them up, getting them onto the lake. And when we got back late at night in the dark, and we're like, oh wow, there's a road. Like, let's go get our next load for tomorrow ready. And it's like 10, 11 o'clock at night, but we're thinking if we can have our boats ready to go, we'll save a couple days. So we get pulling our 30-foot triaxle trailer through this little tiny snowcat road that was just plowed in, and we got stuck like pretty bad on the downhill.
Oh, really?
Uh-oh. If we're getting stuck on the downhill, we're never getting out of here. And this is like midnight now, minus 25. Definitely not walking distance back.
Yeah.
Like snowmobiles are in town. But even then there, like, again, kudos to my dad, right away, knew exactly what to do. So again, big learning experience for me, but I learned the power of chains that day, like tire chains. It was,
Oh, yeah.
So we unhitched the trailer, shoveled a whole bunch, drove down to the flat section, chained up, and then with the chains, we pulled it up the hill and everything. No
Nice.
issues. But the amount of snow up there this year was everything that, knock on, not everything. There could have been we had a lot of luck on our side too, but they got some of the most snow they've ever seen. The ice road was late. They never even ended up getting all the jet fuel they needed to Uranium City for our supply runs. But luckily we had a break the other day. I found out somebody found some jet fuel for
perfect.
me, so I can get my stuff in. But then now too, it looks like it's one of the latest ice off years we've had in the last decade, and trying to get all these. So luck hasn't been on our side, but effort has been. So
Right.
just keep pushing and make it happen.
Yeah, well, and I was just this past weekend, I was up in the Tazin Lake level of the province, and ice wasn't off there. It was off in the one bay we were fishing, but otherwise, wasn't off. So that's definitely late. Even down south here, everything seemed to be a week and a half, 2 weeks later at least. It seems like so.
Yeah,
definitely a little like you said, there's lots of luck on the side, but there's also some of those environmental conditions that weren't helping by any means. So
not at all.
Well, I guess we're going to get into some of the what someone can expect or things you didn't expect running a lodge. And like we talked about, people, at least myself, I've always wondered kind of what that would be like to own your own lodge, but maybe get into some of the story behind the lodge itself, just leading up to you before you buying it. What's kind of the history of the lodge?
Yeah, for sure. So Cheemo Lodge was built. They started building. There's a smaller log cabin just off from the lodge that they started building to originally live in order to then build the main lodge. So they built a smaller log cabin, and that would have been in the late 60s. And then in the late 60s, early 70s, they started to build the main lodge. So the main lodge and that log cabin was all traditional log construction. And I will say, when I showed up, I was amazed with, of course, it's not 100%. You couldn't play pool on the floor kind of idea.
Right.
But considering the amount of, frost heaves that they get there and the shifting plates and stuff like that, I was blown away that a building, that's getting 50, 60 years old was still all the original logs, obviously new roofs, new stuff like that. So it was built around then by a gentleman. I believe his last name was Thrasher. I believe his first name was Dan. I could be wrong on that part. And so he owned it up until I believe the owner before myself had bought it. So the owner that I bought it off of, I believe he bought it in the early 80s, I believe. So he had it for about 40 years himself. So he bought it in the 80s, and this was also when Uranium City was in its heyday. So there was lots of, industry workers flying out of Uranium City. Flights were much more affordable. Getting materials and items in were much more affordable. And, from what I know, the old owner, we still chat and whatnot. Like I'm dropping a hat off for him on the way to the lodge this year and stuff with the old logo. I guess he really knew how to put a party on. Like he would host dances, I guess, from the guys that were in Uranium City, and he had a dance floor outside where they'd have like an outdoor barn dance, and they'd fly a bunch of people in from Uranium City for one night for a big party and fly them back. Now, of course, it's not really feasible anymore with flight costs and Uranium City essentially being a ghost town now. There's, I think, about, I want to say 50 people there. And I think it was up to 10,000 in its heyday. But there's a few heritage pieces at the lodge, which is pretty cool. Like when Uranium City shut down, everybody started buying what was of any worth and for pretty cheap because there was a lot of stuff and not a lot of people. So it's pretty cool. Like we have some of the old jail cells from the jail in Uranium City, and that's how we lock up our boats and motors and stuff. Nice. So that's kind of cool. And even some of the old beds were, and luckily we replaced all the beds this year. So don't think
don't worry about that.
Guests are going to be sleeping on, but were the old RCMP beds, which were designed to be extra long because back in the day you had to be like 6 foot or 6'2" to work for the RCMP. So kind of some weird, unique heritage pieces that we have up there at the lodge. And the old owner, Ed, he was there for 40 some years. And in the last, I'd say since COVID or even a little bit before that, he was in his early 80s when he sold the place. So the last, decade or so, he would just bring out a few groups of friends, a couple old groups that have been coming up for 50 years kind of idea, to pay his planes and to get by. And that was about it. And that was really part of what, brought a lot of value to the lodge was like 2 of these lakes that we got exclusive rights on. They haven't been fished in the last decade, 10, 15 years. And even the old owner, they'd never used a fish finder before. So, so, going onto those lakes, it's fishing I'd seen a lot. I've looked at a lot of properties, been to a lot of places. I'd never witnessed fishing like that. But it's almost like fishing a lake, especially right now, that's never been fished. Like you were the first person that walked up to it and cast a spoon, So, introducing fish finders and getting to know the lake and the structures and whatnot has been phenomenal. And the old owner really wasn't a trophy fisherman either. He was very much, go out for fun, catch lunch, keep a couple, and life's good, right? So there was a lot of untapped potential, and especially those 2 other lakes. Tazin Lake, of course, has one other lodge on it, has been fished and well known for many years. The other 2 haven't, and even talking to the old owner and even a lot of the guests we've had come in, they'll only spend half their trip or less on Tazin because they'll spend a couple days on Solor and Thalucho and go, I had a really good day there. I'm gonna stick it out there. And our personal best lake trout actually came out of Solor this year. It wasn't even out of Tazin. So that was, a huge piece that was awesome about finding the lodge was, okay, not only do you have, the world-renowned, well-known Tazin Lake, but you've got these 2 other hidden gems that whenever someone comes out, they feel like they got something special that people don't know about,
Yeah, for sure. No, that's funny you mentioned the party thing because I have heard of lodges like flying a band in or something like that for a night. And I know even just since, I don't know, probably just before COVID and knowing how much flights were then compared to now, it's insane. I can't believe how much it's gone up in price for a float plane. I kind of understand why with lots of the prices of things and even just having people to fly the planes, let alone the fuel and whatnot there. But that's all pretty crazy there. And I didn't know that there was even another lodge on Tazin until I started seeing your guys' stuff. So, but that makes sense if, like you said, the last decade was just kind of friends and whatnot going up there. But I mean, that's got to be music to whoever's ears is going to be going up there, like untouched lakes for the most part. It's not like it's a lake that people can really get to if they wanted to that easily, right? Like you really got to be going out of your way to end up there because obviously anyone can fish any lake for the most part, right? So it's kind of, I don't know, that is pretty sweet when you get to be going into a place for the first time in a long time that people would be going in there. But and then like you said, when you're casting a fish that haven't seen pressure, it's too much fun.
it's a totally different game. And kind of like you'd mentioned, anybody can come in and fish, but as soon as you go fly in, you lose about 99% of the people. And then as soon as you go fly in and you got to fly 220 miles
Yeah.
then you lose that last percent, like to try and fly in a boat or a canoe and the gear you need to get going. It's really almost next to not feasible,
Right. And
especially when you get that far.
yeah, and even if that was the case, like the pressure that the lodge is going to put on that lake is minimal with how
Yes.
many fish should be in there, right? And like you talked about with kind of how you would manage that boat wise and stuff and not putting too much pressure on a bay even or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be an issue. And I guess for the lodge, is it designated as a trophy lodge now, or is it like you can fly out with say some fish, or what's the plan there?
Yeah, we don't let anyone fly out with fish, but we'll keep a few for shore lunch kind of
Right.
idea. So yeah, we just, I'm one, I'll be completely honest with you, the headache of trying to freeze it all and get it all home and the extra weight and whatnot. And ultimately the most important reason is, like you said, there's not going to be enough pressure to really make a major dent on the lakes. You're spreading 12 people out between a 45-kilometer long lake, a 20-kilometer lake, and a 10-kilometer lake. So it's not going to do much. But I do really want to, I hope one day, if my kids are interested, they're going to run the place. And I want them to have the same quality of fishing that I was blessed to stumble
Right.
upon, now. So, yeah, we don't allow any fish being flown out for that reason. But for lunch, by all means, we'll keep a
Right.
few and
Yeah.
have that as part of the experience.
Yeah, and for every trophy-sized pike or lake trout, there is thousands, if not more, of eater size that can make
Yep.
a shore lunch pretty easily. And just managing those fish that you are keeping and treating the big ones, the trophy ones, correctly when you are lucky enough to handle them, I think that goes pretty far with all that, especially with how short the growing season is for lots of the fish once you get up there, right? So, like those, do you know off the top of your head about any age studies on any of those upper 40s lake trout?
I know kind of just the general knowledge of it. I don't know about our lakes specifically. I know each lake's a little bit different depending on the temperatures and the feed and everything else. But I do know it's very slow. I know Tazin's a very cold, deep lake, so I can only imagine that that's gonna pair with very very slow, old
Right.
fish that we need to treat very well.
Yeah, and I would almost venture that what year did you say the lodge was built? In the 70s?
Late 60s,
Late
early
60s.
70s. Yeah.
So there could potentially be fish down there that were there when the lodge was first built.
I
Right.
wouldn't be surprised. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised at all. Especially you see some of those old ones come out of Tazin where you don't really know because you don't know what a fish has been through, but you look at some fish compared to others and you're like,
Yeah.
that thing's seen some stuff.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
an old fish.
You're not in your prime anymore. Your prime
Yeah.
was 20 years ago.
No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's all pretty sweet. And I guess going into that, some of the stuff about owning your own lodge. I don't know if we want to go into any. We covered some of it, I guess, with your trips, but any unexpected hurdles or growing pains with that?
I would say, I wouldn't say that, knock on wood. I mean, we're going from essentially having last season, we had about a dozen to 16 guests and a few TV shows filmed. And this year we're booked over 100 people for this year. So
Okay.
we've seen a very large exponential growth. So I don't want to jinx myself
Yeah.
with that. But I'll say for the most part, I'm really fortunate. I don't want to come off as cocky or whatnot, but I think I prepared myself really, really well for everything that's been thrown at me so far. Now, I think just speaking to business ownership in general, it's crazy how 1 week you feel rich and the next week you're like, okay, maybe I'll get a salary in 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
There's massive, ebbs and flows in that sense. But from the fishing lodge standpoint, I think the biggest key, and this actually is I was talking to, I believe your boss, Zach Brown. At Black Lamar. I was talking to him. I don't know if that's what I should refer to him. refer to him as.
No, that works.
But I was talking to him, and essentially what he was mentioning to me was, obviously stuff's going to go wrong. You're in the middle of nowhere with no resources other than yourself with the items you have. Stuff's going to go wrong. But at the end of the day, if you care enough and you show the guests that you care and you're doing everything possible in your capabilities, they'll feel that and know that. So if you do that enough, one, you'll stay ahead of the curve where, ideally less things will go wrong. You'll be really proactive with your maintenance and upkeep of everything and in your systems, but you'll also show them that, hey, I'm doing everything I can here. And these guys, most of the guys that come out to these places know that, you're not staying at the Hilton downtown. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
You're working with what you have. So that was one thing that was, I don't know, really reassuring to myself, because I think that would be one of the hurdles I wasn't prepared for, was the level of stress. And a lot of that is personal, because I had my first, like, it wasn't even a guest complaint, but like a guest kind of like, trying to figure out a solution to something that, we were kind of between a rock and a hard place. Like, okay, I only got so many beds, but we want to do this and that and the other, right? Yeah. And that's what makes me feel sick to my stomach, is when I can't, make someone have the time that I want them to have, or that they want to have, right? Or to be able to create that. So I'd say that's one of the biggest hurdles, is even just myself, and overcoming that stress and that intrinsic need to make sure everybody has a good time.
Right.
And it's part of what I think is bringing a lot of our success, but it's also part of what can keep you up at night.
Right,
kind of
for
idea.
sure. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
When you mentioned you're not staying at a Hilton downtown, if someone's expecting that they come up, it's almost like there's only so much you could do for those people, and then maybe they just don't come next time or go out. Like, right, like that's just
for sure.
unrealistic expectations. Like even up at the lodge, if someone was whatever, one of the guests is talking about something, it's like, well, I get that, and obviously it's not cheap to go up to these places and whatnot. But let's take a look from a far point of view here of where we are. Like, we're at that point, we're on an island on a rock in the Northwest Territories. Like, let's be a little real here with some of this, right? And
and maybe look at how fortunate we are to have all these things in such a remote, crazy place. And I think a lot of it too came from, like, I'm not a super wealthy guy. I can't afford to even go on the trips that, I'm booking people for. Right. And so originally it was very like, okay, well, if they're spending, whatever, between 3,000 and 7,000 on, coming fishing, man, like I would, I'm going to expect like X, Y, and Z, because that's a lot of money. And even though, all of that's going towards flights, I still spent $5,000. Like I need a good night's sleep. I need this, I need that. Right. Yeah. But now that I've, been in it a little bit longer and starting to realize the amount of work and money that goes into that, and ultimately really how like competitive our prices are and kind of where we're at in the market, I'm like, I've lost that stress a little bit, because I know we have such a good product offering for what our price is. Whereas before it was, holy smokes, I'm trying to convince people to spend $5,000 on a trip. Now I'm like, I don't have to convince them, because they're looking at all the other prices and all the other places and going, holy smokes, this is a great deal for, again, what it is, for how far you are, the quality of fishing and everything else.
Yeah. And also when you do get a better idea of everything that goes into it as the owner, you can be like, hey, I understand where you're coming from, but if you really want to know, there's this, and that's kind of how things go, right? It's easier. It's a lot harder when you're first like starting and you're like, I'm really like gonna have to charge this. Like that's what that's what people are charging. It's almost like I've had, not to that extent, not with that many dollars, but selling stuff in the past, it's like people are like, I'm gonna charge people this kind of thing. Like it's hard to wrap your head around at the start, but once you get into it, it's like, okay, yeah, this is understandable and also worthwhile, I guess, right? So
it's very easy to flip to I'm only charging this much, when you see how much work's going into it and everything else. So
for sure. No, that's fair. And I guess for we're getting close to ice off and whatnot. Like you said, going up there is kind of just a matter of time. But what's your day-to-day look like in the off season, I guess? Because this is a year-round thing now, right? This is your full-time job.
Yeah, as of February. So I held on to my day job as long as I possibly could, mainly with my wife and kids in mind more than anything. Like, if I would have been a single guy, the day I bought this lodge probably would have been my last day, and I would have just put all my chips into it. I would try and balance out those pieces. So I did keep my job up until February. I was blessed with a great employer that, I'd worked for 5 years, and they knew I was buying a lodge and everything else. So but now that we've been rolling the way we're rolling, I'm wishing I probably wouldn't have stayed that long, because the day to day in the off season, like I get so many people asking like, "Oh, nice, like you get the winters off." It's like
No.
not even close.
Yeah.
I'm working more than the winter now than I was, in a normal day job kind of
Yeah.
idea. So, seasonally, so we set it up so our accounting's done. Our books are our year ends essentially at the end of October, so we're doing all our accounting and stuff in that slowish kind of October,
Right.
November. December, you're starting to ramp up, getting ready for that winter supply run that we're going to do every year. Most, I think, lodges and most places in general would be like, okay, this year we're going to tackle motors, or we're going to tackle this. But we saw such a quick growth trajectory that we were like, okay, no, I want to make sure of those 100 people, I want 80 to come back, So,
Yeah.
so we kind of went all out this year. And again, we're a new lodge, so we don't have the budget to go and buy, 7 brand new Lunds. So what I did was I purchased a bunch of used Lunds from another lodge, and then refinished the entire inside of them to, if they weren't already removed, remove the center bench seat, flat bottom them with walkthrough and Duradeck and pedestal seats and whatnot with casting decks. So renovating all those boats, because again, it's not in our budget to go buy that stuff all brand new. Not yet. Give us a few years, So looking at those pieces, then of course, come January, we're starting to run trade shows. So we'll do, this year we did 4 or 5 trade shows. And so that was a good, kind of learning experience, getting to know how to work those and stuff. I was lucky to meet a few more guides at Lac Lamart there in Chicago. Great guys. We had a lot of fun.
I was gonna say, probably didn't have any fun with them at all.
Yeah, no, it was great. One morning, my wife changed out all their flyers for ours. People were showing up. It's all our stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully Lac Lamart's not listening though. They were doing the same thing and stuff.
Yeah.
It was all in good fun. So, but yeah, no, so it's, trade shows, and then everything else, like the merch and whatnot, like my wife, you can see it's kind of fun parts. Like we're learning too. So like my name's kind of off and over here, but she's the one doing our embroideries, making it work. So, it's doing merch. We're working with other merch providers and stuff that have been really great to work with. It's a lot of financial projections. So figuring out, okay, it costs this much to buy this, but that's not the big ticket. The big ticket's, getting it to the lodge. So all the different financial projections that come with that, and plane booking, guest invoices, guest inquiries, liquor runs, food runs, tackle runs. Like it's
HR.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then we've got, all the hiring of the guides and whatnot. And again, most lodges, we lost 2-3 guides this year. We'll hire 2 or 3 more. We're okay, start from scratch. Find a team, build it, make sure it's a group of guys that are cohesive and can work together. And one thing I really focused on this year was, of course, you need guys that have fishing experience and boating experience. You can't, be sending guys out that have never fished or boated before.
Right.
But we really, number one most important part with hiring was just personality, likability, able to hold a conversation, able to, control a boat. Any guide will know, when you're starting to lose that guest confidence and then they're starting to tell you what to do, and, finding people that are going to be able to manage that. But at the end of the day, try not to even get to that point in the first place. Make sure they're laughing before you get there.
Yeah.
Make sure, all the other pieces. So hiring was honestly probably one of the most rewarding parts so far of the whole experience, because one of the most rewarding, one of the hardest, because you're essentially telling people that want a guide, and especially on lakes like, Lac Lamart and in Tazin and these places that, are kind of one in a million, it's
Right.
not like every lodge has that opportunity, is the people that are applying. It's like, it's their dream. Like, this is what I've wanted to do my whole life. This is what I want to make happen. And I'm blessed with the fact that I get to say, yes, let's make that happen. But I'm also cursed with the fact that I got to go to a guy and say, not this year. You're an amazing candidate. I loved your personality. I loved the interview. I loved all the pieces. But at the end of the day, I got 50 interviews and 50 applications. I got to go with the one I think is the very best. So it's very competitive in that sense. But very rewarding that, you get to see people live out their lifelong dreams essentially.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, I remember the first year I was going up, I was like, this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity is the way I'd seen it. Cause I was like, this, like, you don't get to do this very often. And then lucky enough to do it for 2 more stints after that as well. So you're definitely, you are, for someone who hasn't been up doing it, you're making someone's dream come true that they get to go and do that. And then once you're getting people that are returning and whatnot, like there's a lot more people that I'm becoming familiar with that this is their full-time gig, any form of guiding, right? So it's not just providing that trip of a lifetime or that experience of a lifetime. This is real life. It's someone's job. Everything like that too is another thing with that. So I think that's all pretty sweet. And I mean, you've spent enough time at lodges. Like you talk about how busy you are in the winter. Well, there's no days off in the summer either. Right. So
No.
it's just nonstop, but that's kind of part of what's awesome. Like it's crazy how quickly time will fly by, and it's like,
Yes.
oh, it's been a month already. Oh, it's been 2 months already kind of thing. Like, I mean, the
Yes.
day to day a day could feel long, or 2 days could feel long, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're already at middle of the summer kind of thing, right? So that's
sure.
kind of part of it too. But no, that's all good. There's how many guys do you have guiding up there this year?
This year we'll have technically 5 full-time. A few of our full-timers are up there for, a little over a month kind of idea. So not a super long season, but we'll have up to 5 full-time guys. And then we've got 1 contract guy coming in for when it's really busy kind of idea. So,
okay.
and I think we did a really good job of finding both guide experience and personality and a team that'll work well together, this year and future years to come, right? Like you want to try and get guys that you can have come back each summer and remember all their favorite spots and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, we were really, really fortunate in that sense in the crew that we have. And that's honestly probably the piece I'm most excited about is getting all the guys on the water, getting the boats in the water and the stories that come in at the end of each day, whether it's guiding or learning the lakes at the beginning of the season or whatever it might be.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's always, that's the part I always laugh about and like tell stories, talking to Zach. And, oh yeah, you come up before, we'll get camp opened up, and then you'll have, like, I thought it was going to be like 5 or 6 days on the water, kind of learning the lake and whatnot. And we had, again, just like you're talking about, a late ice coming off. Like it came off, I think 2 days before clients came in, maybe, or a day before.
Jeez.
So that would have been like June 12th or 13th, something like that.
Yeah.
And so it's what is it, 100 square mile lake, something like that.
Yeah.
And me and I think one of the other new guys, we got to check out 2 bays, the 2 closest to the lodge, and we didn't get to zip out there because the ice had pushed in. So it was just a putts and like 5-6 feet of water, rocks everywhere. And I'm like, okay, and I'm taking people out in 2 days kind of thing. Like actually getting to go and learn the lake is pretty nice. But luckily up at Lac La Martre there, the guides that they had out there, like, I don't know what it's like at other lodges as far as if guys share spots or information, whatnot, but everyone was really great with that. And it's kind of more of a team than an individual thing. And I think that obviously definitely helped a lot because there is so much more of that lake, and you could fish that lake for decades and never find everything about it, right? So no, that's definitely, guys getting up there to go out there, and just with fish finders, even if you're just going around mapping, like that would be huge, right? And then I'm guessing there'll be some live scope up there. One of the guys probably going to bring a live scope or something like that up there too. So lots to learn. So that's all. I'm excited. I'm not even there.
I know it's going to be awesome, and you can just see like the guys are getting more and more amped and more excited. Like I text a lot of them, Snapchat a lot of them and stuff, just checking in, see, day to day kind of stuff. And it's just really cool because I've had a lot of friends in the workplace, but this is one where it's like, I could see myself going for a beer with any of these guys on any day. And there's a lot of other jobs where I have no issues working with these people, but I don't know if I would be going outside of work to,
you're there because you're there for the
vibe.
paycheck, basically, right? It's not because of the love of the fishing or that lifestyle. So, no,
100%.
That's totally fair. And I was just thinking back to when you're talking about maybe something not going exactly the way you thought or whatever. We kind of came up. I was just always felt like I was saying quite often, like, oh, it's the North. Like that's just how it is, right? Like that's not some things won't always be perfect, but you're going to make it happen one way or another, whether it's fixing something or turning a bad fishing day into a good fishing day. Like there's definitely lots of opportunities, and it's the North. It's not always going to be perfect, but it's what you make of it. And like you said, showing the clients that you're doing your best with what you have at the time, right? Like I think that's a huge thing. But like you said, you've been doing those steps for however many years, so to get to this point, so you've been building up to that. And I guess with that, with building up to it, kind of getting the lodge going, everything like that, is there kind of anything else that we haven't touched on that comes to mind?
Yeah, like I kind of mentioned, it's the pretty much the most important part is having that versatility and having that wide, skill set range, and really making sure that you have a support system around you that's going to also set you up for success. So, like a lot of guys will joke, the hardest part about being a guide is having a girlfriend, because like, you're going to be gone for however many years. So if you're going to get into this industry, all out, like you need a partner that's going to be in it 100% with you as well. Or if you can do it single too, but if you're doing it with a partner, they got to be in 100%. And same thing there, like my dad and uncle, they're part owners of the lodge with me. This is something we spent a lot of summers looking at places together and whatnot. And it was really one of those things that not only was it nice to have, a little extra financial backing to make sure that these deals can go through, because like banks, you're going to tell a bank that you want to buy a fly-in lodge and here's the cost of flying stuff in post-COVID in the tourism industry.
Yeah.
They're going to tell you to kick rocks. Like I used to get so mad listening to all the ads that were like, we work with business owners and your vision and yada, yada, yada. And then I'm like, no, you don't. I sent you 15 applications over and over again.
Liars.
And you kept telling me I needed 80% down. Like, isn't it supposed to be the other way around? Like,
why am I getting a loan if I could put 80% down?
So, just making sure. And again, going back to kind of my partners in business being my wife and my dad and my uncle and my mom and whatnot, they lend that side, but also like, I'm super blessed with the fact my uncle's a mechanic by trade. So, anything generator, all of that is amazing. He comes out at the start of the year. He did last year, this year as well. And presumably for the, future years where needed to, do all the oil changes, do all the maintenance, do all the compression tests, make sure everything's running, 100% generator wise. And then my dad, like I always joke about how if God could make a person that was meant to, make sure a fishing lodge can run, they built him. Like it's crazy the skill set he has and the versatility he has and what he can do from, renovations to mechanics to hunting to fishing. He's been guiding hunting since the 80s. He works he does moose hunts now for Rogue River up in the Yukon and whatnot. And so, he guided our first, we have black bear tags up at the lodge as well. So we did a little test black bear hunt with a buddy of mine where he said, hey, book a fishing trip, and if we can get a bear, we'll get a bear kind of idea. Right. And we got one there. So anything that a lodge needs, he's the guy that will figure it out. And I'm blessed to have learned as much as I have from him, but I got a lot of years to get, to his level. Right. So just I think I always compare it to a restaurant. There's a lot of amazing cooks that go to buy a restaurant and they don't know the accounting side. They don't know the marketing side. They don't know the operations side. And they can make the best spaghetti you've ever eaten, but that's only a piece, right? So if you're going to chase a dream like this one, go all encompassing. And like I said, that especially the last 5 years felt like a real curse. But at the end of the day, it was a real blessing because everything I learned in those years were a lot less expensive lessons than if I were to learn it on my own dime, down the road, right? So that's really been, at least so far, our key to success was the wide range of experience from both myself and the other partners involved.
For sure. No, I think that's a pretty good resource that the lodge is situated on there. I was going to ask about the hunting stuff, so that's good to know that that's there too. But for a proven fishery to be right there and to make that work out as far as the lodge, I mean, I'm sure there's lots for sale where the fishing isn't the greatest. Yeah. And you maybe don't know that when you're first heading into it, right? So I think that's meant to be with how it's worked out. And I did, like I said, I didn't know much about it, but it sounds like a very, very exciting venture that's going to be going forward here. I'm excited to keep following along on Instagram and seeing Facebook, seeing what's going on there. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing how this summer goes. It'll be exciting. Sure. Well, I think what we should do is probably, follow up in like a year kind of thing, see how the summer went, all that kind of stuff
sure.
when you're not too busy. And lucky enough to catch you here before, lucky enough for myself, the ice was late, so you were still down and able to do an episode. So no, that all worked out well. And I guess just before we wrap things up here, maybe plug away where everyone can find you, website, Instagram, all that stuff, and how they can book a trip with you.
Yeah, for sure. So our website is CheemoWildernessLodge.com. Our Instagram would be Cheemo Lodge, Tazin Lake, and then Facebook would just be Cheemo Lodge there. And you can find us any of those ways. You can book. If you send me a DM on Instagram, I'll answer it. If you send an inquiry through the through the website, I'll answer it. This time of year is pretty crazy, but I always try and prioritize new people, looking to fish and stuff. And I also really always like to emphasize that I'm really blessed with how much I learned over the last 5 years looking at different lodges. So even if you don't think Cheemo's perfect for you, whether it be price point or species, like you're a big walleye or grayling person or whatever it might be, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to always recommend, other places that I know have good managers, good owners, good fishing, good, lodging, whatever it might be. I really do enjoy sending people to the place that's going to be the perfect match for them. So regardless of what you're looking for, don't be shy. I'm kind of an open book when it comes to that kind of stuff. And we're just fortunate enough that oftentimes what we have lines up really well with what people are looking for.
Right.
And
we're
really lucky there. And another recommendation is you're going to have some luck. Cause like when I bought into a lodge, I didn't even put a massive emphasis on the fisheries side of things. I went, no, I need decent logistics. I need decent plane costs, and I need X, Y, and Z. And then I bought a lodge that was 220 miles from the float base that we use. Yeah. But the saving grace was that quality of the fishery and whatnot. So at the end of the day, just do your research and, take the time at however long it takes, it'll be worth it.
For sure. For sure. Well, I really appreciate you taking some time into your evening here, coming on before you head up there. I guess this should be coming out not long before you go up there or just after you go up there. So wishing you guys the best of luck with the season, and look forward to chit-chatting and following up next year when this first full season's going through.
Awesome. Yeah. Likewise for you guys. I hope you guys have a great season up at Lac La Marte and whatnot. And it was a pleasure meeting you, and really happy that I was able to jump on. This was awesome.
For sure. Episode 118 in the books. Thank you very much to Zach for coming on for today's episode. I think that's something that a lot of people find pretty interesting, given that I'm sure we've all thought about it'd be pretty sweet to own a lodge at one time or another, just like maybe a fishing shop. Obviously, this is different. There's different levels to it, but great hearing some of the stories. Kind of, it's the North. Line works for basically any lodge up there. There's always some great stories to go along with it just because it is the North. But yeah, big thanks to Zach for coming on. Definitely looking forward to a follow-up episode here to hear how things went in the first year, and wishing him nothing but the best. I got nothing else here in the outro. Just want to give a big thanks to 13 Fishing, as always, for being the presenting sponsor of the show. Head over to the Rapala Canada website. Use the code Weekend Warriors to save yourself 15% off. Other than that, leave a like, leave a review, leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of the episode. All that stuff helps with getting the pod to more people and everything like that. Appreciate the support, as always, and we'll see you in the next episode.